Are you thinking of a move to the greater Seattle area and you're considering Snohomish County? Today, I am going to go over my top 10 cities plus one bonus city of areas that I think you should consider, and I'm going to try to describe them to you so you can figure out which one fits best for you. Just like I say, houses are like spouses. What's right for one person isn't right for another. The same goes for the area. And that is the beauty of Snohomish County, is that we have turf, surf, and burbs. So more than likely, you're going to be able to find a great fit for you if you come to Snohomish County. So before we dive in, I'm going to ask a favor. After you watch this, would you please consider subscribing and hitting the bell and giving me a thumbs up? Now, I'm not going to expect you to just give that to me right now. Let's make sure I provide value. But if you do that, I'm aiming for a 20% subscriber rate, and that will mean I will be able to provide better content as time goes on. All right, so with that, let's get started. The first place to consider, the first city to consider, it's not a city. It is unincorporated Snohomish County, which is what is outside of all of the cities. And that's where you're going to find your biggest lots. And so if you have dreams about having a farm, horses, you want to have a giant shop, you want plenty of RV parking, then unincorporated Snohomish County could be perfect for you. There's frequently no HOA. There are some neighborhoods within unincorporated Snohomish County that do have HOAs, but most of unincorporated Snohomish County is you buy your land and you do what you would like with it within the county rules. Of course. Maybe you want something that is more like an old pair of jeans. It's comfortable, it's familiar, just feels good. The town of Snohomish might be perfect for you. It is very walkable. It's an old logging town. It's on the river, and it just is quaint. If you walk along First Street, there's a lot of antique shops, restaurants with really good food. It's got an aquatic center. It has a Boys and Girls Club. On the outskirts, you've got a Home Depot and a Fred Meyer. So it's not like shopping is a million years or a million miles away. It's right there. But the downtown part itself is super quaint and charming. And then during the summer, they have a farmer's market where you can get fresh produce and fresh flowers, of course, because it's a farmer's market. And it just, well, you have to see it. So, I mean, if you're kind of into like quirky and artsy, then you will love downtown Snohomish. You'll love the city of Snohomish. The next spot you might want to consider for turf is Monroe. It's kind of like bridging the farmland to another city. So in between Snohomish and Monroe, you've got a ton of farmland. And in Monroe, you've got amenities like 12-screen digital movie theater. There's a Walmart. There's a Lowe's, a Carl's Jr. I mean, so you've got like the national brands, but then you also have some really great mom and pops. And if you go down to downtown Monroe, you have more antique shops and some fine dining, and it's a similar feel to Snohomish, but not quite the same. Like Snohomish has pretty much made antiquing what they're known for. Monroe is a little more scattered, not quite as focused on like, oh, that's what we do, but got a great craft store that you can spend a lot of money in because they have all sorts of fun stuff. That's Ben Franklin's. So Monroe doesn't have kind of the almost singular focus like Snohomish does. Snohomish is very much like, we're the antique capital. Monroe, when I was growing up, it was a gas station, a red barn, and you were zooming through there to get to the mountain pass. It wasn't much of anything, but as our population here has grown, people have migrated out. And so there's lots of different neighborhoods, and everything from, small homes, condos, all the way up to, over $1 million. So huge variety of homes. They're still building out some of those $1 million homes. So Monroe is a great location if you are seeking a more affordable area. Snohomish does tend to run quite a bit more than Monroe, and that's primarily because it is closer in and easier for most people and their commutes. How about another city? Well, let's think about Granite Falls. Falls. So Granite Falls is closer to the mountains. It's north of Snohomish, so it is a bit further out. It's got a really quaint downtown. There's about 5,000 residents altogether in Granite Falls, and you've got the mountains there, you've got the Pilchuck River, so you're really close to nature when you get out into Granite Falls. They do have some newer neighborhoods, so you're not stuck living in a log cabin or something like that. I mean, it's developed, but to get to a big shopping center like Walmart, you will have to drive, I'd say probably about 10 minutes. So maybe you're like, I don't want turf, I want surf. All right, let's talk about some of the beautiful coastal cities that we have. Let's talk about the surf. So by that, I'm talking water. Let's talk first about Edmonds. Edmonds is a quaint little town. There is a ferry there that goes over to Kitsap County. It's really great for exploring. The beach is kind of a rocky, sandy beach. It's not one that I like to go barefoot on. It's great for exploring tide pools and things like that. And if you are a scuba diver or a snorkeler, you will love the Edmonds Underwater Park. They have great boutiques. They have delectable dining. You can't go hungry in Edmonds. The food is just really phenomenal. The homes are a little more expensive, especially in the Edmonds Bowl, but you know, a lot of these homes just have these amazing views, but there's also condos, so there's a pretty good variety, and it is a great location if you work in like Seattle or Everett. My next surf city is MUKILTEO. It has a ferry that goes over to Whidbey Island, a really awesome waterfront promenade, lighthouse, a great beach park area. It is kind of on a hillside, so you do end up with a lot of view homes, and the school district is excellent. It is also very close to Boeing, so if you work at Boeing, that is a great location for you. Now let's move to the burbs. Let's first talk about Linwood. Linwood is next to Edmonds and is right where I-405 and I-5 intersect, and it is 13 miles from Everett and 16 miles from Seattle. So when I was growing up, because I grew up in Linwood, we lived on 2.5 acres and we actually had a mini farm. One of the things that I loved about living in Linwood was because it was like pretty much right in the middle of the two big cities, Seattle and Everett, we didn't have to pay for long distance. In the olden days, you probably don't remember this, but I'm old, you had to pay for long distance, and so it was awesome being in Linwood. I remember being in Linwood before there was Alderwood Mall, and it was just alders, like it was just trees. So I watched Linwood go from a sleepy town with no long distance charges for calling either city to being like a shopping hub. They've got the convention center, and it's a pretty great location if you need to hit a major freeway. It's just right there. And then there's this one spot on 196 where you can see the Olympic Mountains and you can see the Cascade Mountains. If you haven't been here yet, there is nothing like being surrounded by the mountains here in this area. But I digress. So Linwood has a hodgepodge of neighborhoods, but it's a really great location as far as commuting, and there's been quite a lot of building. And the Alderwood Mall, they've got loads and loads of shopping, and now they're actually having a revitalization where they've built apartments and more shops and things like that. The next burb I want to talk about is Mill Creek, which is excellence in every detail. It was originally a planned community planned around the golf course and the country club, and so it's got 10 neighborhood and community parks and then 23 miles of nature trails. There's tons of sidewalks, and then each neighborhood definitely kind of has its own flavor. There's one called Fairway, which of course is backing up to the golf course. They've got a couple of different condo complexes. They've got a neighborhood called the Parks with estate-sized lots and estate-sized homes. The shopping there is great in Mill Creek Town Center. That's actually where I like to shop, is at Town and Country. It's affordable and it's not fancy, and the food is always top notch as far as your fresh food. So it also has great places to hang out. And then on Thursdays in the summertime, they have music in the park, and then they have crafters come. And so you may notice kind of a recurring theme that the cities do have like farmers markets or some kind of arts sales during the summer. During the winter, it's not as great. You wouldn't want to be outdoors. We'll talk about that in another video. So Mill Creek is good if you are a family and you are really focused on good schools and you drive the kids a lot and you've got a lot of places to go and you have soccer and you have this and you have that, and it's really good that way. And then it's close to I-5, and so you can catch that, or you can head south and hit 405. So it's a pretty good location and really well planned community. Next, let's talk about Bothell. So Bothell is actually a huge geographic area when you're looking at an address. The Bothell, it straddles Snohomish and King County. And I'm mostly thinking about kind of downtown Bothell, and then also where the UW campus, there's a University of Washington campus in Bothell. It's also where a murder of crows lives, and so it's kind of fun when you live in the area and you see all these crows flying by and you know they're headed back to the University of Washington campus. Anyway, so downtown Bothell has also gone through a revitalization recently. They've got a dog park, super walkable, a lot of mid-century homes, and people making them look awesome, and diverse neighborhoods that celebrate the eclectic nature of Bothell. There's a McMenamins there where they took the school and turned it into restaurants and bars, and you walk around and there's a swimming pool. There's a stadium, so that's a fun place to visit. But like I say, Bothell actually covers such a huge area. I couldn't, in one quick video, talk about everything that it has to offer. So if you're considering Bothell, we would want to do a deep dive and find out more about what you're looking for. The next city we want to consider is an actual city, and that is the city of Everett with about 110,000 residents. It is the county seat, and you've got the Angel of the Winds arena, you have the Aqua Sox that play their baseball. The city is definitely a mix. There's some older homes that have great water views. The naval station is there. There's pockets that aren't as nice as other pockets. You've got a hospital there on Providence, and so for people that work in healthcare, it could be a great thing. And then of course, it's the home of Boeing. And I wanted to tell you a cool thing about Boeing while I'm thinking of it. Boeing building is the largest building in the world by volume, and actually had its own climate going because it is so big. They do offer tours, and if you come to town to visit, I recommend that you do that tour. So Everett has a big variety. It's got an Everett shopping mall. I mean, Everett's really big and offers a lot, and that's another place where I'd say we would want to do a deep dive if you're considering Everett, to find out exactly what you're looking for, because it does have the surf. And so if you're interested in water, then we need to put you close to the water, etc. And now, before I finish, if you liked this video, would you please go ahead and subscribe and give me a thumbs up and hit that bell button? That would be so appreciated. It's time for my bonus city. This one is the quintessential all three. It is surf, turf, and burbs. And that is, if you don't know the area, you'll never guess, but maybe you would guess if you are from the area, Lake Stevens. So Lake Stevens is a city and a giant lake. A lot of the lakes around here, they don't allow to have gas motors on them. They're just not big enough, and people, you want to keep it quiet. You don't need... But Lake Stevens is huge, and people water ski on there, and there's waterfront properties available. And so if you're like a water skier, this might be exactly where you want to be. It warms up faster than if you're on the Sound. It's not as expensive as Lake Washington. There's bigger sized lots as you get away from the water, of course. And it's kind of suburban. They just built a new Costco. There's Michael's craft store. There's some Ulta makeup, Mod pizza. So there's a variety of like national chains, and then also some great mom and pop restaurants as well. So Lake Stevens is my bonus city. So hopefully you can see that Snohomish County offers a ton of variety, a ton. So you could have your surf, you could have your turf, you could have burb, or you could have a combination of a few of those things. If you have any real estate needs, please consider giving the Lisa Bender Sound to Summit team a call, because we would love to help you with your relocation journey. And if you still aren't sure, check out my video, Mill Creek versus Snohomish, a deep dive into the difference between the two to help you decide what you'd like to do. If you would like, feel free to reach out to me, comment down below. I do watch the comments, and until I have a chance to talk to you, take good care.